All right, Rapierman, you asked me to go ahead and do a little bit of recording and do a VOD review, and I figured, you know what's better than text messages? I have the ability to just sit down and actually kind of go over this with you. So I respect someone who's willing to make a
I'm
change
not
to
your
try
father.
something. So
I'm not your
I
father.
get too much effort.
I'm not your father.
Barriers on
Imagine the
go.
worst possible outcome. Now,
So
avoid.
while we're walking out, obviously
I'm
not
not your
something you're
father.
probably normally going
I'm
to be
not your
paying
father.
attention to. Team
Attackers
comp is
incoming
being
in
played.
30 seconds.
So you have Soldier,
A
you
moment
have
to impress and
Baptiste,
peace
you have
and
Zarya, Tracer, and Tracer and Mercy. So one thing that you've got is anything that you can do as a teammate to prop up your Soldier here, because Soldier with a pocket's going to be huge. So the very first thing that comes to mind here for me is Soldier loves holding high ground here. Here's the problem. Can't guarantee that every single soldier is going to want to, but I'm willing to bet. Yep, he's up here. So, this position on Dorado is a very, very good holding position. The reason for it is when you are holding here, there is such a massive respawn difference that generally speaking, unless if there's a pick like right out the gate, most of the time you're going to find the cart being brought to this choke point. So this is a matter of map knowledge. And this is gonna be the hard one, is I can do this VOD review, but like at the end of the day, like you want to have generally good tips about Reinhardt. But a lot of things about Reinhardt are understanding how where you're useful, because being up here doesn't feel good as Rein. When you're up here, there's nothing you can do. So all of this is completely you just being like, okay, I'm gonna right click and buy time for my DPS. And then you've got two conditions, is if there's a pick, or if you find them where, say, the cart's like here and you have people pushing up right here for some reason, at this point, then you can drop down and be a menace, because Ryan really isn't helpful at this angle. But you know where he is? He is right here. And I'll show you one other reason why, and otherwise we'll get past map knowledge, because as I mentioned, map knowledge is kind of hard to give, because all this information I'm giving is literally relevant to just one map, when obviously there's tons of maps in the game. But say you are here with Reinhardt. There are a few different ways for you to get attacked from literally every single angle. So first side is you've got tracers and other high mobility characters are going to come down and through here, and boom. Now they've got a very, very safe line of sight to start putting pressure on you from down here. Alternatively, you have the right side as well. So you can also have tracers, soldiers, etc. They're going to come up through here. They're going to come over here. And guess what? Anybody who's playing incredibly aggressive, you as Reinhardt down here are going to get hit with so many different lines of fire. Whereas, let's look at what options they've got when they want to attack you at this part of the map. When you are here, all you have to do is give up about this much space, and you only have two angles for which people can attack you. And both of them are very, very thin choke points that do not give them much access to anything incredibly valuable. So first one is continuing on this flank that we were on earlier. You've got here. Then you can have a character that comes up here. Now, obviously, if you've got your soldier holding here, this is a whole lot less scary. But I'm speaking on the hypothetical of if people fall back to that bridge, because the second you start to fall back into this bridge, the rest of your team is inevitably going to have to follow suit, outside of like maybe a soldier, because he's got healing kit. But say you want to come through here, you have to come through this choke point and get tackled from two different angles potentially. And then you've got to come all the way around here to access your Rein. And then from here, you're already exposed to the entire enemy just to try and get angles on you. Alternatively, you could come up on this bridge, but look at how perfectly designed this is for something to just shoot up at you, So this is a very, very scary angle to take. The last thing you have is Genji's, Widowmakers, Hanzo's. they can come up over this wall. Echoes, Faras, they can come up over this wall and get a very good flank. This is the only thing that is very risky for you. And if someone comes around and kills your entire team for this, this is not your fault. There's nothing you can do about this as Reinhardt, right? You have nothing to blame. But what you do have yourself to blame for is putting yourself in a position where you're being compromised in a lot of different ways. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and actually watch this video like we initially intended to. So you're the one getting the pocket here.
4, 3,
Great.
1. Attackers
So,
incoming.
you're holding corner, which is great. It means you've been watching. So you've got an Echo. She's going to be taking on pressure. Nothing you can do about Echo, which is perfect. Beautiful. So let's slow this down. Okay, you're giving up space as need be, which is great. However, though, after this, I'm probably going to go into training room and show you a few useful tech. Okay, so that had a lot to break down. I was hoping I could slow that down. We're going to slow this down a little bit. So you're taking shield damage. However, though, one thing that I couldn't help but notice is exactly, look, so right as you're retreating, you are retreating to the right side of the map. And the only thing that you can... Okay, so the rest of your team's actually picking up on this, which is actually really good from them. What you would want to do in this case is the BAP does what a lot of people will autopilot to do. So your team here is actually putting in some pretty serious work. I would say you want to default to wherever it is that you want to retreat to. And right, if you're playing on Rein, you want to retreat to this choke point. I mean, here's where the biggest difference you're going to come from a juxtaposition of going from Diva to Reinhardt is you have to simultaneously, while not looking where you're going, know where you want to retreat on the map. So map knowledge really is going to be a big difference in this case. But I would argue that sticking with a character like Diva, if you're not learning this after all the time that you're playing, it's good to have a character that is going to teach it to you, because really a lot of matches come down to how well people know the maps and where they want to hold. So continuing on, we're going to watch this POV here. So let's see. Their Ryan's going to charge backwards. Oh, try to punish the Tracer. Okay. So you retreated. It's hard for you to tell from where you're at to know that the rest of the team is. I'll give you a piece of tech that'll be hopefully helpful figuring out how to do this. So from here, when you were holding that corner, the second you hear barrier destroyed, you have to give up more space. There's no options. There's no questions. The second you hear barrier destroyed, you have literally zero options. If you're playing in a comp match, you're going to say, I have absolutely no barrier. Play safe, right? Okay, yeah. And so you walked out here. That 550 HP, the second you lose the armor, it is completely useless. You have 528 shield. Let's see if you right click. You do and drop it. That must have been a general accident. Still not learning the character overall. Okay. So yeah, generally speaking, the second you die in this the second you die in this cart is going to get pushed all the way to here, right? If your Rein stays alive in this general area, the only way that the team's going to push up is if they kill your backline. And that's going to be the only option. And your team has very few options for actually killing your backline. So we will continue from where we left off. Yep. Why does Rein feel like he's going really slow here for some reason? His like animation is bizarre. You play on controller. You play on controller. Okay. So, generally speaking, I'm going to show you something called corner swinging here in a moment. And also that it is okay when you've got full resources to take a little bit of poke to get some information, right? Because here, this entire interaction, you don't know what's coming. And to hold, yeah, you know there's a Widow down bottom left. And then to hold here, this is really, really scary. Like, right, you don't know where the enemy's at. You don't know what's around the corner. You don't know where they're currently positioned, other than there's a Widow on the far left. You're coming up with the shield. So this Echo is going to be able to see your shield before you see her, right? So the second this happens, she's just going to immediately disengage.
Adjusting angle
right?
of attack.
She has no reason to take this engagement with you, even remotely. Echo's one of those few characters. And now, luckily, your Orisa or your Zarya did swap to Orisa, which does allow you to play a little more aggressively. But generally speaking, even I wouldn't have noticed that you had an Orisa at this point. So yeah, from here, engagement's over. Just get out. No reason to use your shield in this case. Shield, unlike Defense Matrix, you've got a big health pool, and unlike D.Va, you're going to suck out a lot of resources. Look at how much this entire match you've had both this Moira and your Mercy paying attention to you. Reinhardt, fundamentally as a character, just draws a lot more attention. You're used to playing D.Va, where you're kind of used to, oftentimes if you're playing with another main tank in this game right now, you're going to take second priority. You, in this case, on Reinhardt, are going to take first. So one thing that you can know is that you can be a little more passive with shield and try and save it to save your teammate or to allow your team a little bit of time to do some actual damage. Yeah, and he knew because the Echo called it. Oh, the counter pin all the way back into the team. Ooh, okay. So I am going to show you this. That was a great pin. You got the kill. You are going to die for this. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. The second you went past here and threw it into the team, you're dead. So remember that you can direction change. When you counter pinned, you could have pinned him into this tree. You could have pinned him into the side of this building potentially, or even here is more salvageable because the second you come here, you can retreat back around, right? You can retreat back around to this corner. You can come back through. You can try and just put your shield back up and retreat back through to the rest of your team. When you are here, you are surrounded, right? You've got Ana here. You've got a Rein. That's not a Rein, is it? Yeah, wait. How do they have two Reins at the same time? I'm confused. Okay. But yes, from here, you do have a D.Va shooting at you. But right, you are completely surrounded. This is a terrifying position to be in. So we'll continue. We'll see if you actually do make it. Surprisingly enough. Okay, yeah, you do get antied, as I mentioned. There's literally everyone's just going to fight you the entire time. Rein can't catch up to people outside of one thing that I'll explain here in a bit.
This is not over.
Yeah, you've got to be using a controller. Because you're not pressing all the way forward. You're going slower than normal. I'd be interested to know if there's a reason for that. Because yeah, you should be full sprint towards your team here. There's like no reason to be like basically like crouch walking. Oh, that's what my issue is. I've got to have forward speed. I'm so silly. I'm so dumb. I forgot I slowed the game down. All right, let's watch that again. Okay, so this is just unlucky. As you showed up and the whole team just got absolutely obliterated. That's what it was like to play Rein. Okay, that's a whole lot better. Yeah, you were not playing on control. Okay, so you're making way back. I'll teach you what to do about Echo here in a sec. So this spot is really crappy to hold, and you can't contest point. Yeah, you have to contest point here as Rein. Even if you die for it. This fight's just over. This fight was ended the second we didn't contest point. Now, luckily, this isn't happening. But yeah, that was. We'll discuss kind of your role as Reinhardt and as the ability to take space. So yeah, we'll discuss this here in a moment. Actually, you know what? Let's do it now. So let's go ahead here. So wow, okay. Things happen fast. So right now here, this is actually a line of sight that I would normally charge. You can charge this and get back to the point faster. You can just run to that pole that you ended up holding here in a second. Right, you don't have to use charge. Oftentimes, when you respawn, is to help you get back to the point fast as possible. Okay, so let's go over. My goodness, that's gonna be annoying as hell. There we go. Okay, cool. So when you're holding here on this little pole, the team can walk through this, which fundamentally is a choke point, right? Now, granted, this is also a choke point, but they have the ability to go around the sides, and they also get the same benefits of cover that you do. If I'm Rein, I am holding here, right? Because they're all through here, and this prevents them from taking through this space, and it makes it when you need to touch the point, you have less distance to travel. Generally speaking, what I would be doing in this case is not holding right click. I would go for a fire strike on the team, and then I would press and hold right click for any big cooldowns that I see. So, for example, echo bombs. Their team has, I believe. Let's see here. Yeah, they've got a Widowmaker. If the Widow's looking at this choke point, if you see her, that's a big moment to allow your team. But yeah, this is where I would hold right here. And then let's go ahead. We're going to slow this down. I will promise I remember that you're not slowing. So if I'm Rein, I'm holding here. I'm right-clicked. We just lost our tracer, but we have to touch. So from here, the second they are here, this is when you're going in. You're going to immediately come through. You're going to touch point, right? And then the reason why Rein is such a good point contester is because everybody has to be in proximity of the point. Right? In order to get the cart moving, you have to be close enough to be to the point. And one of Ryan's biggest problems is people can just run away from you. There's a lot of mobility options in this game. But if you are Rein and you can come in and you can put pressure on a point, for them to continue moving it, they have to come into your, for lack of a better term, get fucked zone. 85 damage a swing hurts, right? Unless if it's being hard pocketed by an Ana, you're doing more damage than they can heal, or both supports at the same time, right? Right, and on top of it, you're going to build a heck of a lot of ultimate charge. Right, what you would want to do here is, even though, yes, the odds are stacked against you, if you die on point here, there is literally nobody that's going to blame you, because the odds of you stepping onto this point and probably getting a kill or allowing your Orisa to come in and contest with gold and continue to put on pressure, because if you can get the kill here, let's look at how close your spawn is. You spawn right here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So roughly 15 to 18 seconds to get back. This is their walk, right? That is so valuable that if you can stabilize here, this is massive, right? Generally speaking, that last fight is worth taking the risk on it, solely because of the fact that, yes, even if you're giving them alt charge, even if you're giving them stuff that they're interested, even if you're giving them and pulling out cooldowns, right? If you stabilize this fight, you've bought yourself so much time. So, continuing on,
The payload has
put this at
reached
regular
the
speed
check-
again. They are just going to proceed to immediately steal. So right, this is making moment right here, right? You hear bomb and you hear nano boost for their Rein. You have shatter, right? This Rein at the rank that you're playing is not gonna counter block your shatter. Honest to goodness, the second I heard bomb, and I know there's a diva in Minimech, if you would have turned around here and pressed Q, look at how fat that shatter would have been, right? Look at that. Like, dude, you would have just needed to walk up. Nobody is going to press, that Rein is not going to press shield on you here, more than likely in this case. And if he does, he's really good, right? Shatter is the biggest playmaking ultimate in the game, in my opinion. I think there's very few others that allow for someone to really just absolutely walk it, right? You could have killed in the time that they would have been stunned, the Widow, the Echo, and the Diva. And Rein would have been coming out. If you would have been able to successfully kill, you could have turned around and pinned the Rein back into your team in a position that he doesn't want to be and likely stalled out most of it. Now, obviously, this is something that you would not have caught. However, though, this is a moment where sometimes, if as a tank player, if you are hyper concerned about dying, that fear can prevent you from being able to make something happen. So generally speaking, right, I would say personally, if you can figure out a combination of finding the right position to hold and being aggressive, because keep in mind this is on defense. Being Rein on defense is objectively harder, right? If I was talking to you about Rein, you can bet your bottom dollar on attack that I would be saying, dude, go in, press this, do this, right? It's a completely different character depending on what position you're playing on, which does make it very interesting. But in this particular case, you've lost your mercy. If you slammed this, fight's over. So yeah, you were focused on getting out, and I respect it. But yeah, dude, is Rein, you are the front line. You are the first line of defense. Even with an Orisa, you are that first line of defense, like every single time.
There is still more.
And yeah, you've held on to Shatter for a hot minute here. Shatter is an ult that, you know, if you see 2 or 3 squishies, and even if there's a tank in front of you, at this point, just use it, right? If it gets blocked, it gets blocked. Build another one. Okay, so you've got this. Dude, go in. You should be jumping corner slam, right? Starting off a fight with hammer down is massive. Nonetheless, though, Bongo just won the fight. Yep, honest here. Okay, so at the very least, you walked out. You used ults, and you and Mercy are the only ultimates at this time. Mercy's damage boosting you, interestingly enough. At this point, you actually want to press up. So right, one of the most important things is a main tank compared to an off tank is as long as your team is with you and you're not down people, you want to make it where the enemy team has to take space from you. So right, if you're holding here and everybody shows up at this point, they're going to come on this sight line here that you can see. And if you just let them take this for free, they're going to have every single one of their cooldowns. They're going to have every single one of whatever it is that they need to go ahead and effectively delete your team, right? If you hold here, or more commonly here, right, even if you don't get anything done, odds are you're going to pull out something like Echo Bomb. You're going to pull out or Echo right click. You're going to pull out something like Rein right click. And then just the second they start to take this space, right, their Rein's going to right click. Their Diva's going to start left clicking you, right? You're slowing them down, right? You're slowing them down. You're preventing them from taking this space. And it is very easy for you to give up this space, right? If you're holding here, you've got LOS with your Orisa. Your Moira is going to be with you. If you're holding here, boom, you're going to pull out like 2 or 3, abilities that are going to be absolutely massive. And you're just going to come back around this corner and retreat to your team, right? You're creating space that the enemy has to take, right? Because if this Lucio's here, he's not going to be able to come around and go for some Reddit Lucio play and be like, oh my goodness, I'm going to come in on your backline and boop you all into a position you don't want, right? If you're holding this spot right here, until their tanks show up, they can't do shit. They can't take anything. So just a few things to consider there is, as a tank, fundamentally, when you're on defense, you want to make space to then easily give up. And, if as long as you aren't losing too many resources on your end, you're winning in this case. Because, yeah, you're using Orisa barrier. Rein doesn't get anything out of Orisa. You're DPS. And then, yeah, continuing on. Yeah, right click here. Not particularly any value. Blocked the shatter. He didn't put his right click up at all. You could have shattered him back. Killing the enemy Rein is free real estate, dude. I think watching that, we understand. Shatter's usually better to have the whole team, be looking at the entire team. You've turned around several times on Rein and just put your back to the entire enemy team. That will get you very little value. We'll discuss that here in a moment. As Rein, you want to almost always have your face towards the enemy team. Protecting that one character, unless if it's a nano blading Genji, you do not care.
Everyone heal up.
Personne n'échappe à
will
ma
not
garde.
give up the
Never
fight.
die.
Yeah. Okay. That was a good match. We're gonna go into training room, and I'm gonna show you a few pieces of tech that are going to be very, very helpful. I think honestly, even if you throw away everything, because defensive Rein is, as I mentioned, considerably harder than offensive Rein. If you get the opportunity, send me an offensive Rein match, and I'll take the time to go ahead and go over some of the fundamental differences there. So with Reinhardt, few things to consider. So obviously, few things in case you did not know. So you can cancel swing with right click. You do not have to finish the entire animation to be able to right click. So right, you can see there, it takes a little bit of time for the swing to come out. You can start the swing animation and end it, right? So right, you cannot do this with fire strike though. You have to finish out that animation. Right, when you're playing Rein duels, there's a lot to potentially benefit. Charge does 300 damage, in case you did not know, and it can be directionally influenced. Then I think probably the most important thing that I actually want to teach you is let me actually do this instead. We're going to go into a custom game. We're going to go to Dorado, and I'm going to show you a few things. Because there were a few moments where I was just like, yo, if you knew how to do this, this would help you out a lot. So, escort, Dorado put me on defense, perfect. Okay.
Traveling to Dorado.
Okay. So let's look at Dorado here, for example.
Justice will be done.
So this is a huge charge line that you can do. That's notably better than the one in the safe room. That gets you back to your team infinitely faster. And then from here, you were doing this earlier, but you didn't quite know how to do it properly. So this is called corner swinging. You were effectively doing this where you're kind of like halfway poking. What you want to do is use your movement. So right, your swing hitbox is only active here, 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 right? So it's kind of like a rhythm thing. What you can do is you can put yourself where you extend this hitbox further out and only expose yourself for as little of an amount of time as possible, right? Because as Rein, you can't get one shot, right? Unless if both a Widow and a Hanzo one-shot you, or you just happen to take as much possible aggro as humanly possible. When their entire team is right here, even with the point and everything, there's not really, there's nothing scarier than a Rein that's doing this. So, right, you were doing this previously. What I want you to work on doing is this. Right? Poking your head out, basically, to just be like, no, like, you don't get to come in here, right? So right, this is true corner poking, is the amount of space that hitbox, I can't show you because I'm not in third person, but the amount of space that hitbox takes up is considerably larger and substantially more threatening. Second of all, is I would like to show you how to take and give up space considerably faster. So when you were in scary situations with Reinhardt, you sometimes want to press up like this, and sometimes you want to back out like this. So this is called jump barriering, and if they've got something like an Ana or something with hard CC, you can get shut down for this, but most of the time you're going to get out of this pretty scot-free. So one thing that's important to know is when you are midair, you cannot lose your momentum, right? You can't lose this momentum overall. So let's watch to see. We're going to go from here down to that little window down there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So it took about 9 seconds overall for me to right click and get over to that little doorway here, right? If you jump right click, I didn't count that. I can do so, but that is considerably faster. I wanted to go over the mechanics. Yeah, we'll count it this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About a second overall difference. And yes, there are moments where you are exposed, but this is particularly helpful. When you were caught here, you had to back out like this. Oh my goodness, this felt horrible, right? If you watch most Reins that have taken an aggressive spot and they want to get out of alive, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to be doing this. Boom. See how much faster I got out of that situation? And then I can start doing my corner swing BS, right? Like, then from there, we are going to go over a few things about Shatter, just in case. So, yeah, I went over charge control. I went over the decent charge spots. So generally speaking, in the spawn room, getting the door is probably not. There's usually anytime you leave spawn, there's like a long straight. Try to watch for those. Those are gonna make a big difference. And then, yeah, I think the last thing I want to go over with you is just kind of generally speaking how to use Shatter well, which is hard. There is a mode that you can find called Rein 1v1, and it's in the workshop. So if you here, let's actually leave game. Let's see if we can find a Rein 1v1 real quick. Nope. Okay. So yeah, every now and then there's a mode called Rein 1v1. I don't have it in the workshop, but it does allow you to build up ultimate very crazy quick. Here, general, generation, ultimate generation, combat, alt passive, cool. Start with ultimate, ready, cool, perfect. Okay. So, generally speaking, with Reinhardt,
Traveling to Havana.
say you land. So right,
Justice will be done.
here. So right, not a good position. Straight line. Boom, look at this. Oh, that feels so good, right? That's like the best part about Rein, is when you get that lined up well. Okay, so say you are playing Rein, and they have a Rein too. You're doing your corner swing, you got your ultimate, right? When you've got someone over here, doing this, it legitimately will get you killed, like 100% of the time. There are moments where Rein can turn around and save his team. Generally speaking, it's when both of the tanks or one of the big tanks is a dive tank. And you know they don't have resources, which honestly, more than likely, I'm assuming you're likely not paying attention to things like whether or not if Winston's used his bubble already, right? Those can be hard to pay attention to when you're just starting to figure it out. So what I would recommend is say, a lot of Reins love to do this. They love to jump, which is not what you want to do. Occasionally, it does make sense because you can carry momentum. One thing you can do very commonly is jump around a corner. Like, right, say you've got like 500 HP and you're dropped to like 300. You come around, get healed up, and you know that Rein wants to take space. You can do this, and you can just completely out of left field catch them. But generally speaking, you're not going to be going for these most of the time. The big one that I wanted to go over with you, right? Notice that it's in a cone. So it's hard for me to demonstrate here. But let me see if I can see how that like ripples out. It goes from here to like almost over here. That's a huge cone. So do understand that if you didn't know, it is a cone. And then one thing that you are going to run into is when you slam, it is going to be tempting if you slam the enemy Reinhardt to kill the enemy Reinhardt. That is probably the biggest mistake you can make. Generally speaking, what's going to happen is you're going to slam, you're going to walk up to the back line, and you're just going to cleave them down. Additionally, say you get everybody in a perfect straight line. It's happened to me beforehand. One common mistake you'll see is say you have their Ana back here in a position that you want to hit, and you fire strike down to the ground. You'll notice it runs into the ground, and it doesn't let you get it. This is very obscure, but if you crouch beforehand and aim along the ground, it'll travel the whole way. So, not food for thought on that one. Definitely one that I don't expect you to potentially start off using, but just in case if you're like, damn, like I got a really sweet shatter, right? I ended up getting the whole team. I wanted the opportunity to do so. So let's go ahead and recap the things that I think I gave you a lot more information that I think you need, honestly, to start to climb on Rein. Big big cliff notes that I would offer. One, understand as a Reinhardt, generally speaking, especially when you see your main healers more than once, because you have the ability to third person. If you see your Moira consistently with you, your Ana consistently healing you, as long as you are not going way too ham, right? So say you're holding on Rialto here, you're holding this point. The second you go past here, right, unless if you have a Moira, which honestly your Moira doesn't want to be here in the first place, you don't want to be doing that. Now, however, though, say you're on offense, right, you're going to want to immediately start pressing, right, because it's so much different when you're on offense. Look at all this space that they can take, right? Your whole point is to take the space. However, though, once you dip past here, completely different situation, right? So generally speaking, pay in mind to your healers and don't hold on to Shatter for as long as you did. You have the ability to absolutely swing a fight with Shatter. And I would say at this point, go for the big dick Shatters and get them blocked and be like, okay, I got it blocked by Zarya Bubble. I got it blocked because their Rein outplayed me, right? Right, and then once you have that, you're just like, okay, like I got it outplayed because of this. If you're trying to be like, oh my goodness, this Genji's gonna kill my Ana before I can do anything, like I'm gonna shatter her, like you are throwing away one of the most valuable ultimates in the game. Honest to God, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people play Reinhardt is because of how good that ultimate is. And then from there, understand corner swinging. This single-handedly will carry you. Like, honest to God, I cannot stress to you enough, is people will, like, put pressure on you, and you'll just be like, oh my goodness, like, I can't poke this corner. And your Ana's just going to be sitting here on this giant sight line, and she's just going to be shooting you in the ass. She's going to be building ult charge. You are too. You're both just going to be vibing. Someone's going to get hooked. You know, someone's going to get picked. If it's your team, you're just going to keep holding until they get a pick, or you're going to immediately go in because their Ana's going to be like, yo, I just farmed that nano off of you, right? And you're just going to go in, right? And then last but not least, I think the most important thing on this case is if you can learn to jump shield. It's not perfect. There are moments where it still feels slow, particularly in retreating, right? One of the things that you're going to have with Rein a lot is you're going to put yourself in positions that you shouldn't be in, right? You're learning the character. You're figuring out how to do things without mobility options. If you can, instead of this to get out, you can hop out a lot faster, you're going to find yourself being able to live, which honestly is Reinhardt living is one of the most important things that you can do. And then, yeah, just especially at chokes when you're holding this position, last piece of advice here is when you're at chokes holding this position, you will oftentimes right-click when you're at full HP and let this take the damage first. Wrong choice. What you want to do is you can kind of cycle. There's a natural health cycle that Reinhardt gets, where down on the bottom left, you'll notice that he has, down on the bottom left, right? You'll notice that he has, he has all this armor. Armor takes way less damage from random poke than your health. So what you can often do is you can take 200 to 300 HP worth of armor health, and then you can right-click. Right? And in that time, your support's going to heal you up, right? That support's going to go ahead and bring you back to full. Your shield's going to take maybe 400, 500, 600, 700 worth of damage, but you're back at full here. And then from here, you can start pressing up a little bit, right? Because you're at full health, you just felt a little bit of, say your card's sitting right here, right? You can take this position, you're going to take a little more health HP, and in that time that you took that health HP, you have now regained your, you've regained most, if not all of your shield health. So, right, understand that armor health first, shield, wait until your health's full, and then from there, unless if something really big's happening, if the team's like pressing up on you, like obviously hold that right click, but say you're sitting at like a relatively safe distance where you're not really feeling the whole team on you, you know, generally speaking, you want to then cycle with this right click. As soon as you're brought back up to HP, yo, it's time to freaking go ham again, right? Like, it's time to just start swinging on people. Like, honest to goodness, like, Rein can be one of the most fun characters if you know how to play him. He is considerably more fun on attack, so I will say send me an attack video. But yeah, I think for now that should be more than enough to help put you in a position where you can actually start to, you know, understand the basics here. So I appreciate you sending that to me and considering me for input. If you want to do this again or you have any follow-up questions, just let me know in Discord.